So you know what? I don't think I've ever said this. Let's get to the easy-to-track nature of the chaotic ACC.
Yes.
Because that's easier than tracking the injuries in the wide receiver room of the Carolina Panthers. The ACC, wide open. What parity / everybody's maybe catching up to the top couple teams / they're coming back maybe a little bit to the pack. And it's even better that it's happening in the era of no divisions, right? This is the kind of the first year where there's not the Coastal and the Atlantic. So I think what happens is, right, have you ever seen the I think it's like an 8th grade science experiment on what dilution does, where you can take like one glass of water filled with, I don't know, red food coloring and another glass of water that's crystal clear. You dump the red food coloring into the crystal clear and suddenly it's all red. I think the Coastal took their chaos and when they mixed in with the Atlantic and became one big, happy, no-division conference, the chaos just went all over the place to all of them. Because even if you agree, even if you believe, as many do, that Florida State is the team to beat and they are kind of, at the moment, maybe a length ahead of everybody in the horse race that is the ACC, who are they going to play in the ACC championship game? Right? Because it's no longer the best team from the other division. It is whoever the second best team in the ACC is. That's who Florida State's playing in the if they make it, right? Big if. There's a lot of football to play.
Major if.
But I'm saying even if you think there's one certainty in the ACC, if that's your belief, the second place is wide open. Duke, Louisville, Miami, NC State, UNC, Wake Forest, Clemson, could be any of them. And I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, that's outside of the realm of possibility. Basically like Boston College and Syracuse.
Yeah.
If it were one of them, I might be surprised. Other than that, I could talk myself into it. And the thing is, with the no divisions, right, there's nobody having that, oh, we're blocked by having Clemson in our division and they're in the middle of a run. It's like, okay, fine, finish second. Oh, we're blocked by Florida State. Fine. If you think that's true, finish second, see them in the ACC championship game. And the arrow is up on a lot of these teams. They're getting better for a lot of these teams. It's frustrating because I don't think everybody recognizes what actually happened in week 1 for the ACC. I was talking about it with Dennis off air earlier today. SportsCenter actually had a graphic. Okay, like right, the lower third, the thing that comes across the text that comes across the bottom of your screen watching SportsCenter. I wrote it down word for word so I could present it to you. College football week 1 recap. That's normal. Nothing wrong with that.
Checks out.
All right, fine. I see what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
The colon, and then it says ACC struggles in week 1. And I went, how? Who? How do you come to that conclusion? Then the subtitle underneath it, smaller print, Boston College, Virginia, Clemson, and Georgia Tech all lost. Let's just talk. Let's just talk about this for a second. That's why the ACC struggled in week 1, because those 4 teams lost. Boston College was picked to be 12th in the conference, and they lost in overtime to Northern Illinois. That's a loss you don't want on your record. I'll admit it. That's one that the ACC has to wear like a black eye. Virginia was picked to finish dead last in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They lost to Tennessee.
Yeah.
A top 15 team in the country. Oh, it's so bad for the ACC that their worst picked team can't beat a top 15 team in the country. Clemson lost to another team in the ACC. So as bad of a loss as that was, if you think it's a bad loss, it's equally as good of a win for Duke. So at best, they cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech, they lost. Oh, that's so terrible. Who'd they lose? Louisville, another ACC team.
Yep.
Who was picked to be better than Georgia Tech. So how are you going to knock them for losing to a team? How are you going to knock the ACC for an ACC team losing to another ACC team that was ahead of the loser in the standings? The fact of the matter is the ACC had an unbelievable week 1. 5 straight days of winning games in prime time. 2 of them handily victory. They kind of handled the SEC teams.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I said kind of. They handled SEC teams.
They took care of business.
And not Vanderbilt, right? This wasn't Kentucky on a down year. South Carolina and 5th-ranked LSU. Multiple score losses to ACC teams. How in the world are you going to say they struggled as a conference? They thrived as a conference. And because of that, just about all of the teams have a puncher's chance at getting to the ACC championship game. And once you get to any kind of postseason game, as everybody knows that's ever played a sport, to quote Kevin Garnett after the Celtics won a title 15 years ago or whatever it was, anything is possible. The ACC is wide open for the first time in a while. And I'm talking about, like, I could see multiple different teams winning it all. I could see half the league playing in the ACC championship game. This is an exciting time for sports. Do you remember, I think it was 4 straight years in the NBA, the Warriors and Cavs played in the finals?
It was.
Do you know what was probably the most exciting time in recent NBA history? When it was obvious that those two teams weren't going back the 5th year. Because then it was like, oh, right? There's a vacant spot at the top of the hill. Who could it be? Well, guess what? After watching what Duke did to Clemson on Monday, Clemson just vacated a spot at the top of the hill. Who is going to fill it? Who is going to? The ACC is wide open. And that's an opportunity for everybody. I will go forever saying this. In college football, every team starts out with the same goal, to win your conference championship. That's what you're trying to do. Now, once you win your conference championship, you can start looking at your resume and you can see if you belong in the college football playoff or this bowl, that bowl, the New Year's Six Bowl. That's all extra. Win your conference championship. And I don't know if we've had this many teams with a realistic shot at doing that in a while. So I'm here for the ACC this year. Very excited to be covering the ACC this year. Very excited to be talking about the teams we talk about here on The Drive this year. Very excited. Which, by the way, they're all at home this weekend.
Yeah.
Like everyone in North Carolina is at home this weekend.
State, Wake, Carolina, Duke, ECU. I mean, App's at Carolina.
Yeah, so that counts.
Central's at A&T.
Count it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're counting it. It's going to be a really fun weekend and a really fun year to cover the ACC and the teams we cover.